This is the 100X podcast, and we have got the mythical Chuck Stock joining us from Farcade AI. Dude, we're so excited to have you on. I've been seeing you, like I said, the last 6 days everywhere on my timeline. I've played every single game in there every single day. I've got a hot streak running since I heard about you guys. I think if anyone is paying attention to this space at all, they know that one of the hottest narrative crossovers happening in 2025 is between AI and gaming. And you guys are smack dab in the middle of that. Can you tell us what Farcade is? Give me the whole pitch.
Yeah, I mean, I think like the really short of it, just to give like a quick mental comparison, is we're basically trying to build the TikTok for gaming. There's just a lot of great tailwinds happening in this space right now with advancements in AI. I think this mini app evolution that we're seeing, which we're really tapping into, which is building distribution into these applications like Discord, Telegram, World App, Farcaster. So, the Farcade is basically a TikTok for gaming, but all the games are built with a custom AI studio. So all the games are being made 100% by AI with just prompts, and anyone's going to be able to do it soon. So we're really excited about that. We think it's going to be an unbelievably cool platform over the next 6 months.
Yeah, fantastic. Killer narrative. This idea of, hey, I can just make a game by telling AI what I want it to make. It's funny because my brother's a big crypto podcaster as well. And we used to talk about that like 2 years ago when we first started to explore the crypto gaming space and how crazy that would be. AI was just taking off in crypto. It was like early. Everyone was talking about what AI would do in crypto, I don't know, 2 years ago. And that idea of like, dude, can we launch a game just by like talking to AI someday? And you're doing that, man. I think it's fascinating. How early are you guys in development? Like this idea of TikTok for gaming, just scroll, find games. Hey, if you want to make them, talk to the AI and make them. Phenomenal concept. But right now, I mentioned I've been playing every day. There's a handful of games on there. What does that look like? Like how far, Farcade, how far are you from having that vision actualized?
Like decently far. So we came up with the idea last February, actually. And it's just gone through so many iterations. I think we built like 6 different MVPs, and we'd always kind of get to this end point and just feeling like it wasn't quite there. And something I've always been obsessed with is like how TikTok revolutionized the feed. Like it really like makes it so fun because you don't have to like think. You're just like, it serves you the thing you want to see next. And I was like, this would be so cool if this is a game. Like instead of scrolling videos, I actually had like gaming content. Like that'd be so much fun. And we came up with this idea a few months ago, and when we were starting to build it out, we came to the realization we were going to have a supply side problem almost immediately. Like you can only, if a feed is only 4 items, like what good is the feed?
Right.
Like it's just like almost extra overhead.
You need people making stuff constantly.
Exactly. And so for us, we're like, we know we have to jumpstart this platform. All the games are going to be coming from us internally. So like, let's build a tool that's going to make it easier for us to launch these games. And we started building this AI studio, and the newest game we just launched called Black Hole was really the genesis for all of this, which is I wrote a prompt for building a game just using AI, and within 2 prompts I had like a working fun game. And I was like, okay, that's gonna be awesome. We're gonna build games. And like basically internally we built 5 or 6 games that day with this new tool. And I was like, this is big. And then we had this other light bulb moment. It's like, why is this just an internal tool? Why isn't this like a tool that everybody's using? Like we literally just, AI tools in these models are getting so good. We just have this moment where it's like, literally there's 3 billion gamers. Maybe there's 1 million guys that can build or these types of games, and software developers and game developers. What if all 3 billion people are now game developers? And that's basically what we were proving out with this AI studio, which is if anyone can write and talk to an AI model, you can build video games. And so that's like something that we got really excited about. So I'd say we're still in like day 0 of this product, because like I just think there's like so much room for growth and like for this place to just like really blow up. But like we are pretty far along. I think the studio is pretty far along. I think the app is growing at an incredibly fast rate, which is really exciting. And so we really want to have, like I said, just the best distribution discovery platform and like monetization platform for people who are building and launching these games.
Before we dig into everything this episode has to offer, we want to highlight the awesome partners who sponsor this podcast and make it possible for us to work full-time on 100X. They're legends, and we appreciate them for supporting us. Let me tell you about our friends at games.gg. And when I say friends, I really do mean that they are friends of 100x. Their CEO, Omar, was one of my first introductions to Web3 gaming, and we're OG holders of their Gamers Lobby collection. We love these guys. They're essentially the super app of Web3 gaming. One of the cool things they've cooked up is a gaming quest system. You complete free quests for cool games, anything from retweeting a post to beating a mission in a new game, and then you get rewards, tokens, skins, whitelist access, all kinds of things. Go explore everything awesome they've crafted just for you at games.gg right now. If you want to build it, or if you want to play it, just build it. That's fantastic, I think.
Yeah.
Man, I've thought about that a lot with games, we're seeing that with music. I think eventually we might see that with some film stuff. Like, hey man, if you want to consume that thing, just create it yourself. And you guys are like actually making that happen. Why crypto specifically? Like I know that you could take the Fortnite approach with the user generated content and just pay people to create tons of cool maps that everyone plays. You can take the Roblox approach and just pay them to make games inside of your ecosystem.
Yeah.
Why this idea of like, hey, you're willing to relinquish some of that ownership? What does crypto tie into the whole aspect?
Gaming is global. And if you've ever tried to pay someone across borders, it's awful. Fiat on-ramps are terrible. Paying globally is terrible. So just purely from like this monetization standpoint, where we want everyone who's building games to make money very quickly. Like it's just a key driver of this platform getting like a crucial flywheel is monetization and monetizing quickly. And there's no better way to do that than putting stuff on chain. And then on top of that, there's nothing better than crypto at creating aligned incentives. That's something that we're very excited about and very bullish about with the Farcade and how our studio works, which I can't share all the alpha yet, but a lot of the crypto on Rails is all about creating shared and aligned incentives with these games. And so that's something that is really only possible with on-chain data and distributed blockchains, and something we're really excited about. And we're working behind the scenes with some of these newest features like app tokens, which just launched from Limit Break, and some of these new things that I think just lend themselves so perfectly to like the things we want to accomplish, which is like streamlining in-app purchases, cross-game sales and trading and stuff like that. So on-chain just makes that stuff a million times easier. And then just like as a personal note, as like a gamer, I just want more stuff on chain. I want my achievements on chain. I want like my history on chain. I just like, there's a lot of stuff that like I've done in my past gaming career that I was like, man, that'd been really cool if I had an NFT to prove that like I was a good gamer, or like, all this stuff. You just kind of have to take each other's word for it. And I think we're in airdrop season. We're in like this airdrop mode, and the more stuff I have on chain, the more chances I have to like be a part of like a new collection or a new community. And that's stuff that I'm really excited about. So we just want everything to be on chain.
Fantastic.
Tokenize everything.
I love that. I was talking with Caesar the other day about a Games GG quest. I'm sure you know Games GG.
Yeah.
And that I like one of the metrics they wanted a specific number of hours in a genre. I was like, dude, I don't have that on Steam, but I swear like I have 10,000 hours on a different platform with that, but no one believes me. So I'm not a real gamer. And if I could just have that data on chain, dude, I don't have to convince guys like Caesar that I'm a real gamer. I could just prove it. And then I qualify for cool stuff when new games are dropping, or solid point.
Yeah. And it's like, it's a thing that I really want as a builder too. Like, not only do I want that as a gamer, like I would love to have that as a builder. Like, especially if like, I'm in the Farcade and I'm launching a new game. Like gaming is such a broad bucket. It's like, just because I love, games in the Farcade doesn't mean I love all of them. Like I might love the puzzle games or the word games or like the tap games. And so as a builder, it'd be really great for me to like create distribution or targeting that's very specific to the gamers that like I think this game's going to appeal to. And so I think the more that stuff's on chain, the more easy it is, and stuff that like me as a builder would also love access to. Like I would love to be like, these cohort of people spam black hole, and my game's very similar to that. Like I want to reward them and incentivize them to come over.
Speaking of on-chain, I do have a lot of people who say that they were top 10 in one of their games, and I don't know if I believe all of them. So there was a way to verify that and be like, hey, you weren't really top 10.
Someone's lying. Top 10's usually like top 1,000, I feel like.
Yeah, there's like 40 of you in crypto Twitter claiming to be a top 10 gamer in that game.
Yeah, who's lying?
Yes, the math ain't mathin'. But when it comes to the sort of the user interface and how you expect people to interact with Farcade, how is that user experience like? If I'm just someone who just heard about it, someone sent it to me, they're like, "Hey, try this out." What is that platform like as a user? And then how is that transition from, "Hey, I'm just playing these games, I'm scrolling, I'm trying different things out." How do I get introduced to like, "Hey, maybe I can build my own thing"? What is that user experience like?
Yeah, so I mean that's something we're like crazy focused on is that onboarding experience and onboarding people and distribution. That's a lot of the reason why you guys have heard of us. Like we're growing incredibly fast. We've put $0 in marketing. We haven't done a single dollar in marketing. We shared our app in 2 different channels. It's grown extremely fast, like hundreds of thousands of users in 3 weeks. And so it's and a lot of that is because there's really like built-in incentives to share. Like there's a lot of things we do in the Farcade that we want to get you to share with your friends and your community. And it's a good thing about gaming too is people love sharing scores and leaderboards and stuff like that. So it's a good mix. But also I think that one of the best parts about the Farcade that makes it fun to share is how quickly it is to onboard. And so we're really tapped into like Telegram and Farcaster where you can just tap one thing and launch the Farcade, and when you're automatically logged in, we pull in your data, we pull in your social graph. You didn't have to create an account or connect all your Discords and connect your Twitter. Like all that stuff is already done. And so the UX for getting onboarded is really just sharing the app and wherever you feel like that person wants to play it, whether it's Telegram, Warpcast. Again, we're working on like Discord and some other places, but we're really, again, trying to meet users where they're spending time. And so that's like I think something that we're doing that's very innovative that I don't see a lot of people doing and that like we're really trying to take advantage of. And so like even on like the apps like Warpcast, if you guys are familiar with it, like our games show up in like social media feeds. So people will just be scrolling their social media feed and you have like one button to go like launch the Farcade and start playing games. And I think that's something that's very compelling for us, but also something I think is super exciting for when builders start launching the Farcade is when you can just build and launch a game and then it goes out to all these different networks and you have access to Telegram and to Warpcast and to all these different communities and they all get to play with each other. So
And for those people that are ready to take that next step after they've done playing some of the games and want to build their own, what kind of skill set or knowledge do they need to have in order to get that started? How easy is it going to be for a gamer maybe like me that hasn't developed anything to actually be able to create something?
yeah, so if haven't been a builder, I think it's amazing at getting you to like the 80% of what you'd expect. Like Caesar, you could get like a mini game going and like just a couple of prompts like very easily. Like you'd be shocked at how easy this stuff is getting. But I think like that last 20% polish, it's really nice to have like some coding experience and be able to like debug little issues or add little functionality. So I think like in like the next 2 to 3 months, we'll see a lot of people get onboarded to our Farcade like game studio, have like a little bit of engineering knowledge. But I think in like the next 3 to 6 months, you'll have to have like almost no experience with software or engineering, and just the only experience you'll need is just like learning how to prompt AI better. So like making sure you like know how to ask the right questions and give it the best suggestions. That's the skill set, and that's why we're so excited about it. Like that's just how crazy good these models are getting, and they get better every day and seems to be like a giant leap forward every couple months. And so it's really cool. So yeah, I think in the near term, maybe a little bit of coding knowledge. I think in the medium term, it's gonna be quite surprising how good this stuff gets.
Hey, that means by the end of the year, I might have a game out there. Who knows?
Oh, before that, yeah,
like
yeah,
that.
definitely before that. Yeah.
With no development experience, you could have one by the end of the year. That's
Yeah.
fantastic. I mean, walk me through that process. So, like, okay, I have no coding experience whatsoever. So, if I was going to make a game, I'm using AI prompts. What does that process, A, look like to actually make the game? And then B, like, what happens in the Farcade universe after that game is made? Like, how do people see it? How do they play it? What does that look like for me as the game maker? Walk me through that process.
Yeah, so for us, for launching a game is literally going to like a chat GPT interface. So something that I think we're all becoming very familiar with. And you can just say, I want to make an arcade game that looks like Tetris, but it's, has different pieces, or it's a bigger grid or whatever, or it's just, I'm making a Tetris clone. You could just literally be like, that could be your first sentence. And I can guarantee you it's going to be very close. Like, especially when you're building like known games that there's a lot of information on the internet about, like it can get that like very quickly. And then a lot of it's just like at the fringes. It's like adding like different iterations and variations. And like, that's what a lot of gaming is. A lot of gaming is like taking a game and putting your own creative twist on it. And that's what we're really excited about, is seeing like the creativity that will come from like someone did Tetris with a twist or Flappy Bird with a twist, and just like the way that will iterate and form on the Farcade. So Matthew, the first thing you do is just an AI prompt. It's going to get you really far. And then there's a lot of it's just tinkering, fixing bugs, adding the variants. And all of that's just chatting. You're just chatting, getting a new preview in the Farcade Studio. You have a little preview of your game that you can play with. You can be like, that's a little too fast. That's a little too slow. Make the player 2 times bigger, whatever you want. We have like an asset marketplace for you to add the assets, which is a pain in the ass if you're building video games. Like it's finding the sprites, finding the assets, like, but all that's getting easier because we'll have asset marketplaces, we'll use AI to generate assets, even things like sound effects. But then like not the secret thing, but the thing that's so cool, that is like so amazing about it, is just one button distribution where you can just hit a button to launch your game. It will automatically go out to all of our clients, to all of our users. And you didn't have to worry about that. You don't have to have any followers. You don't have to go market it. It can just go out to everyone on our platform. And then the more successful your game is, the more money you will earn.
Nice. And this other aspect, another thing that I've seen with a lot of AI tools that I've used is that they limit the access or the amount of times that someone can use it because it can be very expensive to have the AI just constantly putting out results for things like that. How will that access be used for Farcade? Will anyone be able to access it? Would you have to have a token or source of payment to access the tools? What would that look like?
Yeah, without getting into too much specifics, unfortunately, because I cannot, but there will be a Farcade token, and that will be a big component of its utility, is the studio side.
Kind of alpha I like to hear. Doesn't have to be specific. You just gave me enough to be excited.
There will be a Farcade token, and it's going to be the backbone of everything that's happening, not only from like a consumer side for in-app purchases, buying skins, aesthetics, playing games, entering tournaments, all of those stuff that like we love and like know how to use tokens for in normal like Web 2 mobile games, but also power the studio side for building and launching games, AI models, training, asset marketplaces. And so it really is meant to be just this base utility token that powers everything happening on the Farcade.
Are you guys, while we're on the point of I don't know how much you can say about the token, but while we're on the point of the token, I do have a few questions. One would be, are people you mentioned you've got like really short time span, you went to more than 100,000 people interacting with it. Are those people engaging with a potential airdrop when they're playing the games on there? What does that look like?
Yeah, so again, we're a US based company, so and I hate putting stuff in writing, so I will talk about this stuff. I normally don't mention, like, try to write out too much.
Too, dude. And we've spent years hoping Gary doesn't look over our shoulder and come after us for something that we didn't think was wrong. So you don't have to say anything that's going to get you in trouble.
Yeah, and just like a lot of things change, honestly, and like I don't want to like be beholden to something we said a month ago, and we have like a whole new plan this month of like this is how it's going to go. But yes, like right now it's basically a play to airdrop season on Farcade. All the points you're farming, all the leveling you're doing, all the games you're playing, that's going to be rewarded with our TGE.
Cool. Sweet. So the tokens I've been earning and playing every day might be worth it eventually. As far as the token ecosystem, are you guys going to have, I'm thinking about like the way that you've mentioned like these mini apps, and we've seen this happen with virtuals. We've seen this happen with Pump Fund, where like, hey, there's a cool ecosystem that there's like the brand and their token, and then there's people creating a bunch of things under it, and they have tokens. Is there going to be tokens attached to some of these other games? Like, will people be able to do that, or is it all going to stay under Farcade?
There will be a lot of tokens. Cool. And that's something I'm very excited about with like your on-chain question earlier, and that's where I believe you get the best online or aligned incentives. Like this is something Lucas says with Pudgy. This is something like I truly believe is I don't want people to feel like they're part owners, because I think part owners almost puts like too much onus on like a single entity or someone to do something. Right. And something I think is so cool about the Farcade is this idea of like community ownership and aligned incentives of games and game studios. And the thing that I haven't really talked about yet is every single game, when you become like a supporter or you have tokens in that game, you unlock the ability to build derivative content off of that. So, let's just say, for example, Flappy Bird was created in the Farcade. It's the biggest game. You could own tokens, and actually, if you're one of those people, not only are you making money off the game being very successful, but you're able to actually fork and remix these games. And since they're all just built with AI, you could say, look, Flappy Bird was great, but like, what if there's power ups, or what if there was, this like, it was faster or easier or whatever. You could just do that and make all the updates with AI, relaunch this new version, and all the value accrual is still going back to that base token. So like there's this huge community incentive to try and continue to build attention around like a game studio, because it's all driving value to the underlying token for that studio.
Cool. That's really cool. Go ahead, Caesar.
A one-off question here, and this is something that we do see in things like Pump Fund and Virtuals, is that like someone comes out with a super awesome idea and gets the entire community excited. They get the token bonded, they get everyone excited, and then they're like, all right, you know what? I'm actually done with it. I don't care about the project anymore. I'm going to leave. But what you're saying is that, hey, the community can actually take this idea and continue to build on top of it because they do own part of it and they have some ownership. How does that look like, for example? Because you said some of the derivative products bring back value to the main product. Is there a way to just completely fork something over where it's like, hey, you know what? This developer completely abandoned Flappy Bird, but the community wants to go ahead and continue the project without, the person that left the project completely getting all the benefits from it?
I mean, it's a really good question. Obviously, there's going to be like outliers in situations like that. I think there's always going to be a issue if the founder, creator, or largest bag holder abandons a project. Like it's very hard to overcome those types of edge cases of like just like handling those things. And something that we do at the Farcade is like, even with like a lot of our games and our features, like we have features like you're able to wager points and challenge friends, which like we love. And we think it's
somebody
super
tried to wager. I didn't even notice. Someone tried to wager like my whole bag the other day, and I realized right before I accepted it, it was everything I had.
Yeah,
so I'd no to that one. But
it's intense, and I've done some like high stakes ones, and I love it. Like I love that feature, but it's getting abused by people. We have people abusing it for point sharing and doing this stuff, but like we're not going to turn off this feature because some people are abusing it, because the majority of people still love it. And that's the same thing with these tokens and these allocations. Like we want to optimize for like the majority of people, and like for these tokens and game studios, we want to optimize for what we think is going to be like the majority of use cases, which is, again, we all potentially have this like very aligned incentive of this token doing well or this game studio doing well. And a lot of that is about just making the most popular games in the Farcade, because that's something that we are building around is like very standard gaming attention metrics, like your retention rates, your eyeballs, your games played, your like how much people are spending. Like we really want to help promote the games that I think are building like sustainable, like exciting games, and reward them very heavily. And yeah, but again, I do think since AI makes it so easy to build and ship games, I think you can overcome this like barrier.
If the Flappy Bird guy dumps it, then I'll just release Slappy Bird and the community will run with it.
Exactly. Like and I just think like if you, and because it's going to be so easy to do. Like I think it's going to be so easy to like rebound these things, because if you have enough people that are very excited to keep building and shipping on top of something, like I think the tokens can sustain those types of problems.
Which makes it more competitive too, because if I'm the guy that built the original one and I'm not willing to keep making that better, then someone else can come in and take the core thing that people loved about what I had and make it better, and they're going to steal my community because they were willing to create something when I wasn't. It's cool.
Yeah, it does. Again, I think like I'm most excited for the alignment and to see what happens and the creativity that will come from just being able to ship games quickly, and like anybody having that ability to it. Like I just feel like it just gives the Farcade more and more opportunities for there to be the next Flappy Bird, the next Temple Run, the next Wordle. Like the odds of that happening on the Farcade are, exponentially higher.
Feel high,
because of how quickly it is, and if the distribution monetization is as strong as I believe it's going to be, it's going to be one of the best places to build.
I do have a question here, and this has to do with the creativity and the development of these games and how fast it can be made. In the difference between a Flappy Bird Tetris mobile game to a Warzone mobile or Apex mobile game, the difference between the two are pretty big.
Yeah.
How far do you think this Farcade can really go? Can we get to the point where the AI is strong enough that it can actually make games close to those games like COD Mobile or Apex Mobile, or is it more going to be just like more of the simpler type at first and then get to that later on?
It's 100% going to be phases. Like it cannot do that stuff now. Although it's again, it's evolving at a rate that's like really hard to comprehend. Like, and I'm someone who's been writing software for 10 plus years. I've been doing this for a long time. I see very much every day how much more my day-to-day work is written by AI, just like in my day-to-day process, and I know how good it's getting. I think when you talk about like these like very advanced 3D games, it's gonna be a little bit, but not as long as you think, and it's 100% going to be doable. And I just like could not have a stronger belief that like this is how games and content's going to be made. It's going to be made just leveraging AI tools, AI prompts, and like these developer suites to create content. Like it just, you're not going to have to write code, and it's going to be very, very cool and very compelling. But like we'll be creating games as fast as like we can think of them. And so that's why we want to be this distribution platform. Is there's going to be an incredible amount of supply and not nearly enough ways to get attention. And so that's why we're trying to get ahead of like where this is going and be this platform where everybody's creating games at the speed of thought. So like they all need places to find gamers, and that's where Farcade is going to be positioned.
Fantastic. Yeah, I mean, it's less about how do I create a cool game, and more about how do I find someone to play my cool game, because there's now millions of cool games. And and the product is no longer making a game. The product is finding a player. And then there's, I mean, really as a player, that feels really exciting to me, because that means, hey, I'm going to be able to actually play the games that I want to play. And I think your point of like, how long will it take? Dude, I remember, any of us that work in the space, remember when like ChatGPT dropped, it was game changing. It was so crazy. Or when the way that Midjourney would do faces and hands when it first came out. And it was just so silly. And we all, that it's all AI. It's real easy to tell what AI is. Dude, 6 months later was like, ooh, it's getting a little hard to tell which picture is AI and which isn't. And now, unless you really know what you're looking at, it's indiscernible. And the video is starting to get, I mean, I saw some crazy AI video last night of a baby fighting a chicken. And it was crazy that the fact that it actually looked like slightly realistic, because 6 months ago, video AI was so bad. And in a year, dude, it's going to be indiscernible. And so obviously like gaming is a little more intensive than that, but the speed at which we're seeing AI develop, dude, I have no doubt that it's going to change everything.
Yeah, and so that's like that's why I'll just keep repeating this, because I like it's how I think about what's happening, like why I'm so excited about what we're building, and like why I'm so bullish on the Farcade is like the two biggest things that I see are going to be like the biggest problems for all of people building in the next 12 months is distribution, which is already the number one problem if you're a builder. Distribution will always be the biggest hurdle. And then monetization. Those are the two biggest problems. Now, if you're a game studio and you want to launch something, the biggest problem is now we all have ADD, and there's an infinite supply that's
I'm just doom scrolling on these games now.
Yeah, so like you have to get immediate distribution, and you have to monetize as fast as you can. Like that's just gonna be what has to happen. Like you're gonna have to monetize super fast, because your game, even if it's gonna be the most fun game in the world, like these AAA studios, they only have people playing for like 2 to 3 weeks at most. Like Marvel Rivals might be gone in like a month. Like it's just, these are games.
Look at X Defiant. It didn't make it a year.
Yeah.
It was a COD killer.
Yeah, and it's crazy. And so like it's just going to be one of those things that you're going to have to monetize fast, because great games are only going to last a couple weeks. And that's okay, because if you're building them in the Farcade, maybe it only took you a day to make it or a few hours to make it. And if you can build something like that and make a lot of money very quickly, then you have time to go make the next thing and the next thing, and constantly be trying to like iterate and build new stuff, because that's just the rate at which we're, like, again, a rate at which we lose interest, the rate at which our attention moves on, and just the rate at which stuff is created. So it's really trying to capitalize on those things and build a solution for what I think is going to be like really hard problems and for builders and creators in the next year.
I think a piece of that is really exciting to me. And then a piece of that like almost makes my heart hurt, because I think about like nostalgic games that I look back and I remember just playing legitimately thousands of hours of Rust on Modern Warfare 2, like, and how much I loved that. And knowing like, hey, are you telling me that I'm not going to play thousands of hours of a single game, because I will play thousands of different games in that same time period? Do you see a world where this this concept you were talking about of like iterating and making that game better, that you still can capture that nostalgia, you can still capture a long-term fan base. What do you think that's going to look like?
Oh, definitely. I think those are going to be I think those are just going to become more and more extreme outliers, but 1,000% will happen. Like gaming is such a social thing. Like we love shared experience. We love talking about it. We love talking about, the things we did on Rust, or the things like, like when we played GoldenEye as a kid, or our first LAN parties playing Halo. Like we love those shared experiences, and they'll always be a core part of gaming. I think like the reality is like there were so few games back then that we had a lot more overlap on shared experience, and now there's so much, like the overlap is kind of dissipating. But there's definitely going to be the games that stand way longer than you expect them to, and they'll be around for years, and they'll be obscenely popular, and everybody will love to keep playing them. And that's that will always be true. I just don't think that's going to change, because I think there's games that just capture attention and community and involvement like that. But I think it's going to be very rare. I think it's going to be extremely rare. And if you're building a game, you can't plan for that. If you're planning to that's why I look at a lot of these games and these Web3 games that are planning to disrupt these Web2 incumbents, and I just have so little belief that they're going to be able to do it. Like it's just so impossibly hard, and I don't think that's where the puck is going. I don't think that's where our attention is going. I don't think that's how we consume games anymore. And I like things like what Fableborn is doing, where they're kind of doing these limited time windows of playing a game. I think something like that actually has more sustainability than trying to build the next Fortnite. I just think that's going to be almost an impossible challenge.
Yeah, that is crazy, because that gets me excited to the point where, hey, you know what? Maybe in a year I can build a game that rivals the attention span of the next Marvel Rivals. If Marvel Rivals lived for a month and a half, and I can create a game that lives for a month and a half and has similar excitement, that's absolutely insane. But it's totally believable. I mean, the TikTok brains of today definitely have showed us how short the attention span is in today's youth. So I do not see it out of the question. But when it comes to this capturing the attention, you mentioned something, and it is very true. It all comes down to distribution and getting these games in the hands of everyone. Right now, I've been playing some of the games on Telegram. I know you can have it on Warpcaster and in that application. And I saw a couple other places where you can play these games. Is there going to be a way to distribute that even better? Will their Farcade ever be on the App Store, on the Google Play Store? Is that the next step? Because I think that's how you actually capture the attention of everyone, having that application that they can just download instead of having to go through a third-party system.
Yeah, 100%. The reason we didn't start there is, again, we have our own distribution problems. We need users, we need more people playing, and so the best way that we know to do it is to tap into these other apps. Lean on the distribution of what Telegram has 1 billion users, regardless of what you want to assume to be bots. All of web has bots, so I'll just ignore that as a data point. But Telegram has billions of users. World app we're on is growing extremely fast. They have 20 million users. The Warpcast has a lot less users, but very high signal, very great LTV, very high paying customers. So we love being there. And I think we can build very interesting distribution models through there, which I think is going to be very exciting for gamers and studios building, where, if you launch a game on the Farcade, it becomes like a viral post on Warpcast. That's a really cool thing to be able to offer game studios. And I'll give you an example of something that we built over Christmas of proving what we believe the Farcade can do, which is, we were sitting around the fire at my parents' house for Christmas, and my sister is obsessed with Candy Crush. She can't stop playing it. And so we were sitting there, and we were showing her the Farcade. She's like, yeah, I'd play the Farcade if it had a Candy Crush game. And we sat there and we're like, we think we could probably build this. And we literally opened our laptops, pulled out the Farcade Studio, and basically just sat with her and kind of held her hand through the process of prompting the AI and how to do it, and really walked her through doing it. And after 4 hours, we had Geo Crush built, which is
the one I've played the most. Yeah,
it's the most popular game. People love that game, and I think it's going to be I think that's one of those games that's going to last a very long time. There's something very addictive about it. And we built that in 4 hours, and then launched it. And within the first hour, it had tens of thousands of plays by thousands of players. I don't know who else can do that. Within 5 hours of someone who's never written code or never built
the idea.
Had an idea. We built and shipped a game and had thousands of plays, and we're still don't have a lot of users yet. We're still growing extremely fast. That's going to be hundreds of thousands of users, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of plays, tens of thousands of users. And once we launch monetization, I want it to be tens of thousands of dollars. And I think that's 100% going to happen. And Like, I think the top game studios in the Farcade are going to be making millions of dollars soon. Like, I think that's like what the potential is and what the growth is, and what can happen when you're building something that can garner that much attention.
Yeah, fantastic. I love it. I mean, we've talked a lot about like what builders get from Farcade. We've talked about as a player what I get. I'm curious as far as like, is there, I don't know if it's intended with you guys, if it's something that'll be left up to the game devs, the builders, if they're still devs at that point. I guess I'm a game creator. I don't know if I could call myself a developer if I'm using AI. As far as like the play to earn aspect of Web3 gaming, of crypto gaming, of like, could I launch a game in there and have an earning aspect in my own game? Can I have my own play to airdrop inside of my own game in there that isn't attached to your guys' play to airdrop? Like, do you see incentives as far as like, I'm thinking along the lines of, you're talking about how difficult it's going to be to capture the attention of users. If I'm competing with thousands of other games that are dropping all the time, could I use earning as an incentive to convince players to come play my game?
You're calling out our roadmap a little bit there, Matthew. Again, an area I can't go into too deeply, but 1,000% yes. Like, that's cool. Again, why we love crypto. And like I've said, tokenizing everything allows for that to happen. We want to give everyone the ability and the tools that like a lot of us have access to. We don't want to restrict the creativity of builders either. We're really trying to build what we think are very compelling, building blocks or Legos. Like, we want you as a builder to feel like you have the Legos to build something very compelling, and then be able to like get very simple, like, I think very good distribution without a lot of work.
Cool. Yeah, I like that a lot.
But yes,
go ahead, Caesar.
But yes, it's gonna happen. Yeah,
we're same wavelengths.
Connecting the dots.
It's exciting. Yeah.
No, that's cool. I mean, I think that's like, well, I've had a lot of these conversations, and like a lot of people will do that, what you just said, which is like predict kind of the stuff that we're working on, which I love, because I feel like it kind of shows that we all kind of have this idea of like what this should be and where it should go, and like
it just hasn't happened yet.
Yeah, but and that's what's so cool about it, is like, I don't know if what we're building is like truly like the most evolutionary idea. I think it is like, why I like it is I think it's a little obvious, but it's also capturing what I think wasn't possible even just a few months ago. Like, a lot of stuff just literally wasn't possible. And so that's why I'm really excited about it. But I love talking to people and like they're guessing and predicting like the things that we're working on, because I think that just shows, I think it shows like how well this idea is working, and like how much people want something like this. Like, I think it really just shows like there's an emptiness for this. There's really good ideas of like where this is going and like the features that would be great. And so it's really cool. And it's fun. It's fun to see the guessing that's right on the money.
Yeah, man, I'm excited. It's fun. I see why Sam tweeted about you guys.
I was about to say the same thing. I do have one more question here, and this is for everything that you've been building. I see the potential. I see the future. I see the excitement just from talking to you, that you guys really want to build this. I do want to ask, like, why base? I think that's a very interesting choice. What about base attracted you guys to build the Farcade and all the ecosystem you guys are building on that platform?
So it's a great question. I think that we're definitely in the middle of like the chain wars. I think when looking at the Farcade, you could be like, this would be a great app on Ronin or something like that. I think like Solana obviously makes a lot of sense, especially if there's like any sort of trading and ownership components. So rewinding the clock a little bit, last January we shut down my previous business, and that was like a pretty early like gaming community platform. We grew a lot in Web 2, but always like kind of got stuck in Web 3, because I think like the NFT hatred in Web 2 really like kind of put us in a weird spot, a rock and a hard place trying to grow that platform. But anyways, we ended up shutting that down, and then on the heel of it, we were trying to figure out what to do next, and we're a little bit at a loss of where we wanted to go. And then we ended up building some like really fun games on Farcaster that just blew up, and Farcaster had a really good relationship with Base, and so we started just doing stuff on Base over there, kind of just like de facto. And then I went to a meetup, and I've got to meet Jesse, and I'm really close with the Base team. They ended up investing in our pre-seed round, actually. And ever since I met him and the team, and I talk to them all the time, I just think they're a phenomenal team. And I think they're building some incredible tech. I think they focus on the right things. And I think Base is just one of those places that they have such an intense passion for rewarding builders, which I haven't really seen. And I think something that's amazing about it is they've done this all without a token promise. Like they've said it many, many times that they're not even going to do a token, but they've still gotten a bunch of people really excited about building on there. So I love what they're doing. The chain is super fast. It's super cheap. It's a great ecosystem. And as much as I would love to like maybe launch my own chain because like it sounds fun, I think that's the last thing consumers want. I think I just want to be where things are easy, and Base is a great chain to build on. And so, so I've loved Base. I love the team. Jesse's becoming a great friend of mine. And so, I just want to build there.
Cool. Awesome, man. I have another question on that. And I want to make sure this doesn't come across the wrong way. I think he's been on my brother's podcast. He's one of my favorite people to listen to. I've listened to him in person at events. I remember one time at a permission list when he was talking about, it would have been in the early days of Base. He was talking about this project that was doing like shared art. It was bizarre because he was in the DeFi space before. And now it's like, how cool is this? That like every little squiggle that someone is drawing on this thing is like on chain, and all of these people are building things together. And who knows if that's going to take off, but how cool is it that like we're seeing new ways to experiment? All good things. I genuinely bullish on Base. Everything that I have ever heard Jesse put out, I've thought was awesome. But I have seen, just on the point that you've got Coinbase Ventures or Base, however that is. I think we've seen a couple of times in the Web3 gaming space where being invested in by a VC either means, hey, this is really awesome because people that have vision are catching your vision. That's a win. Yeah. Or, hey, are those guys going to dump on the retail investors when they come out? And we've seen that happen, sadly, before. How do you guys handle that narrative and I assume that narrative is going to come up because it's been happening recently. How do you handle the like, hey, our VC's not going to dump on holders like me that get excited about it that didn't learn about you till a week ago?
Yeah, I mean, that's such a good question. And I think like there's something about like VC funding that is like the antithesis of crypto. So I get that. I like totally get that. Like I totally get where the passion's coming from. I get why people hate VC coins. Like, I've been around for a long time. I've been in crypto since 2015. I was there for the ICO booms, there for the start of Ethereum. Like I totally get why people don't like VC coins. It feels like an institutional private sale where they get a dump on retail at some point. So I get that, and I get the complaints. I do also get how terrible having a token is. Like I get how terrible it is to have an NFT collection out. Like once you have thousands and thousands of investors that are very vocal, very demanding, the amount of demands I get from people that spent $5 on an NFT a year ago is crazy. Like people are so mean to me. Like and it's just like people call me a ruggerist.
Well, we haven't launched anything yet.
Yeah, we haven't. Yeah, well, so we actually launched a couple NFT collections last year, or at the start of this year, that have done extremely well. And that was our first game.
Was that with Far World?
Yeah, Far World. Like that's like a Pokemon creature collection style game built on top of like open socials. So, and that's still doing really well. So we have like all those NFTs. We did a PFP collection for the DGen token. So we did like a PFP collection for them, which has done really well. But like, again, it's as a builder, once you have a token live, it's an incredible burden. Like it's such a burden on your team. It becomes your full-time job. You went from maybe 2 VC investors to now you have tens of thousands of investors, big or small. Everyone only cares about the price. And if the price is going down, they hate you. If the price is going up, they love you. And it's really distracting when you're trying to build a 10-year business, quite frankly. Right. Like we're all of our VCs, they're in this for us to be a $10 billion company. They're not in this to be a $50 million token. And so I think that's like the flip side of this. I don't think people really see is like, and I'll give you another example. One of our VCs, he gets inbound every day from like all these guys launching AI agents. And he's like almost every single one of them. Like there's people with like 9-figure tokens, like $100 million tokens. They've talked to them and they're like, how can we like undo this? Like, I don't want the token live anymore. Like, it's like literally caused them so much stress and like so much pain that like
newsflash, there's no undoing it.
I know they wish they could undo it. Like, imagine having a 9-figure coin and feeling like you made a mistake. Like it's crazy because that's like how hard it is to manage token owners. And it's really crazy. And I feel really bad for builders that like, it's really stressful. And it's really hard to.
So if your choice was hey, we could launch a token and hope we hit the 9 figures and that funds us, or we could go to a handful of people that believe in us for the long term and have them fund us. You chose this option.
Well, and remember that it's not funding. Like a lot of TGEs are not funding events for a team. That's something that people like really don't understand, which is like, just because we have a 9-figure token doesn't mean we have $100 million treasury. Like most of the tokens are locked up, especially for the founders and the builders. Like a lot of times they don't see anything. And like a lot of like the market makers are making all the money off the trading fees. So like the business isn't actually generating any revenue. Like whatever like liquid treasury they have, they could then potentially go do like OTC deals and stuff like that. Which also are not well received by the community if you start doing private sales. But like, it's not a funding event. You don't make money off launching a token. And so unless you, again, have liquid assets that you're going to slowly dump on retail, which feels just as bad to me as opposed to doing a VC route. So yeah, so that's why we went this route. Like I think we have amazing partners. They don't have a lot of, we didn't have to give up a lot of equity. I think they're very long-term focused. And I think when we do launch our token, we'll probably unlock all of it at the very start so that people can see that they're not going to dump. Like, I think I want to really avoid that narrative of like, here's this big unlock coming. The VCs are going to dump on all of us. Yep. If they're all liquid at the start, like there's no dumping happening because that's just not who they are. That's not why we're partnered. And so I love the point. I would love to just keep trying to be public about like why we did this, because I think it's truly what's best for our business. Like I don't think launching a token right now, as much as I would love to just be like, here's 100% of the tokens, like I want all of our community to be involved. That would be potentially a better token launch, but it would be much worse for our product in the long-term roadmap. And again, we have a 5-10 year roadmap. We don't have a 6-month token FDV that we're trying to get to.
Well said. Yeah, nailed that, man. Dude, I'm excited.
Thank you.
You guys are building something awesome. Again, I'll say to anyone listening, I'm not invested. I'm not a VC. The second I will be able to invest, I will invest. So take that piece of bias.
Not invested yet.
Not invested yet. But I'm hooked. I think this is fantastic. What is right now, you're wrapping up this episode. What's your next move? You guys are building at light speed. What is the next thing that you're really excited about that you think people will be excited about?
I mean, obviously, like we're a small team, but we ship very, very fast. Like we've launched 5 games or 6 games already. We're basically launching a game or 2 games every week. That's really the cadence we're on right now. Ideally, we want to get to a game every day because we're going to start opening up the studio and our SDK. So that's the next thing I'm really excited about, is allowing external builders to start launching their game. I think that's like how we start getting like a really compelling flywheel. But then I think the most exciting thing is definitely the monetization. Like I think allowing game studios to start making money, and then allowing gamers to start being backers and supporters of the biggest games in the Farcade. So I think, again, if I keep hinting at it, I wish I could talk more about it because I think it's very, very exciting.
The hints. I'm happy with the hints.
Yeah, the hints. And I think it's just going to be cool. Like I think it's going to be like the next evolution of like monetization. And I feel like a lot of people are going to start doing it once we start doing it.
Next evolution of gaming, next evolution of distribution, next evolution of monetization. You guys are killing it, man. I'm very, very excited to watch what you guys do this year. I think 2025 belongs to Farcade. Man, if you are listening and you want to engage with these guys, you want to play the games on Telegram or wherever else, we'll throw some links down here. Come challenge me. I'll put my name down there.
We'll take all his credits.
I will beat you at the Geo Crush, but I will not beat you at any of the tap games because I'm playing it on my PC, not on mobile. And it's too hard on the mouse. But
the tap games are tough on PC.
They are really tough, dude. I switched to my phone for one and I hit like a 6 times my high score. And I was like, oh, that's why I'm getting smoked in every single wager. So awesome. Thank you, Chuck Stock. This has been a pleasure. Can't wait to see you guys succeed.
Thanks so much for having me, guys. This was really fun. I really appreciate it.
We'll see you next time on 100X.